drowning in a sea of data. Like sifting through financial reports, research papers, all those documents with more charts and graphs than you can shake a stick at, just to find like one tiny bit of information.
Oh, tell me about it. It's a nightmare.
Right. And it turns out it's not just us humans who struggle with this. AI has a hard time with it too.
Yeah, especially those AI systems that rely on simple keyword searches. They just kind of fall apart when you throw in all those visuals.
It's like they're missing half the story.
Exactly. You can't just read the words. You got to understand the pictures too, the connection.
Totally. So that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're looking at this really fascinating research paper called ColPolli, Efficient Document Retrieval with Vision Language Models.
Itchy title.
Right. But don't worry, we'll break it all down. Basically, these researchers have created a new AI model, this ColPali thing, and it's designed to be much smarter when it comes to these visually rich documents.
It's kind of like most current systems look at text and images separately, right? Like two different things. But this one tries to put them together.
And that's important because, like we were saying, the relationship between the two is where a lot of the key information is hiding.
Exactly. So this ColPali, it uses what we call vision language models, or VLMs. It's a whole thing. But basically, it means they can process both images and text together in a really sophisticated way.
Okay, so they're using these VLMs to actually retrieve information. That's pretty cool. But before we get too far into how it all works, can you set the stage a bit? What's the core problem these researchers were trying to solve?
Right. So they realized that all these existing methods for dealing with documents like this, they just weren't cutting it.
Like, what kind of methods are we talking about?
Well, some of them just try to extract the text from the document, like using optical character recognition, OCR.
Right, OCR, I've heard of that.
Yeah, and sometimes they even try to use AI to caption the images. But none of it was really getting to the heart of the problem. They needed a way to test if AI could truly understand both the visuals and the text together. And then, of course, actually find the right information based on that.
So they needed a new challenge, a challenge worthy of ColPali.
Exactly. And that's where Vedore comes in.
Vedore?
Yeah, it's this new benchmark they created, specifically to test AI on document retrieval, where you've got all these visual elements in the mix.
So it's not just like a bunch of random documents.
Oh, no. This is hardcore. They've got data sets from all sorts of fields. You've got your scientific papers with all those complex diagrams, financial reports with charts and tables galore, even some documents with tables written in, get this, French.
French, wow. Okay, they're not messing around.
Nope. It's designed to be a real test. Can the AI actually understand the visual meaning, or is it just relying on some language tricks?
That's clever. So how did those older methods do against this Vedore challenge? I'm guessing not so well.
Let's just say there was a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah.
It's like they could see the information, but they couldn't quite grasp it.
Like trying to understand a joke in a foreign language. You might get the words, but you miss the humor.
Perfectly said. Which brings us back to ColPali, other knight in shining armor.
All right, so tell me, what makes ColPali different? How does it approach this whole visual document retrieval thing?
Well, for starters, instead of looking at the text and images separately, it looks at the whole page as one big image.
The whole enchilada?
Yep. And that lets it pick up on those subtle relationships that other methods miss. For example, it can understand that a chart about, say, sales figures is connected to a paragraph that mentions revenue growth, even if those exact words aren't anywhere near each other.
So it's like it can read between the lines, or I guess between the pixels.
Exactly.
So it's like it's got this deeper understanding. It's not just matching words, it's matching meaning.
Right, exactly. And the best part is it actually works. Remember that Vedore benchmark we were talking about with all the crazy complex documents?
Oh yeah, the one with the French tables? That was wild.
Right. So ColPali just crushed it. Blew the other methods out of the water.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Especially on those tasks with the really intricate visuals like infographics, scientific papers, even those French tables. No problem for ColPali.
So it's not just a small improvement, it's a big deal.
Huge. And it's not even just about accuracy, though. That's obviously important. Because it can analyze the entire page as an image, it can actually index documents way faster. Way faster.
Oh, that makes sense. Less pre-processing, more speed.
Exactly. And that's a big deal when you're talking about real-world applications, right?
Yeah.
Where you might have millions of documents to search through.
Right. But that brings up another question. What about scale? Can this actually work when you've got massive data sets? I mean, I have to imagine all those images eat up a lot of memory.
That's a really good point. And Yeah, memory footprint is something they're thinking about. I mean, it does require a bit more memory than some other simpler methods,
Right.
but they're already exploring ways to make it more efficient because, like you said, you don't want this super fast system that needs like a supercomputer to run.
Not very practical.
Exactly. So they've been looking at some techniques from something called get this, a performance-optimized late interaction driver.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. But basically, it helps them compress the information without sacrificing accuracy. Like, imagine you get the same delicious meal, but it
Yeah.
comes in a smaller package.
I like the way you think. So scaling up isn't an impossible hurdle. That's good news. Now, you mentioned earlier that we could actually get a glimpse into ColPali's thought process. Tell me more about that. It sounds kind of creepy, but also really cool.
Oh, it's super cool. So they created these things called similarity maps. Basically, they're visualizations that show you what parts of the image ColPali is focusing on when it's like processing a query.
So we can actually see what it's seeing.
Yeah. And these maps are really insightful. Like they show you how ColPali is making these connections that go way beyond just recognizing text. It's understanding context, relationships.
Do you have an example? I'm a very visual person. I gotta picture this.
Okay, so picture this. You've got a document about oil production, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the researchers, they searched for the word Kazakhstan.
Okay, Kazakhstan.
So obviously, ColPali highlighted the word itself, but it also highlighted this other section near the word Kashagan.
Kashan.
And get this, Kashagan is a major oil field in Kazakhstan.
Mm-hmm.
So ColPali didn't just see a word, it connected that word to an actual geographical location based on what the document was about.
Whoa.
Right? It's like it actually understands something about the world. It's not just about the words on the page anymore.
That's pretty amazing. So where do we even go from here? What's next for this whole ColPali thing and this idea of visual document retrieval? What's coming down the pipeline?
Well, the researchers, they have some really, I think, really cool ideas. For one thing, they're talking about going beyond just retrieval.
Beyond retrieval.
Yeah. Like imagine, AI that can actually answer your questions based on like the charts and diagrams. Like it actually understands them.
Okay, yeah. That'd be a game changer. No more spending hours hunched over a spreadsheet trying to make sense of the data.
Exactly. You just ask the question, like, what were the peak sales months? And boom, ColPali finds it for you. Right from like even a super complicated sales report.
Wow. Yeah, that's powerful stuff.
Yeah. And that's not even all. They're also looking at making it work for, other languages too, which would just like blow the doors wide open in terms of making information accessible. It's exciting.
It is exciting, but it also makes you think, right? If AI is getting this good at understanding the visual side of information, what does that mean for how we even create information in the first place?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Will we have to up our game, make our charts and graphs even smarter just to keep up with AI?
It's like a kind of arms race. But instead of, weapons, it's information.
That's a good way to put it. It kind of reminds me of how scientific instruments have advanced over time. We build a better telescope, then we discover something new in space. So then we got to build an even better telescope.
I love that analogy. And just like with those telescopes, who knows what we might discover with this technology, right? It's not just about finding information faster. It's about seeing those hidden connections, getting those aha moments, and maybe even solving problems we haven't even thought of yet.
Absolutely. Well said. Well, folks, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Time flies when you're having fun.
It really does. But wow, this paper really got me thinking about the future of, well, everything. How we find information, how we understand it, even how we design it. It's a whole new world out there.
It really is.
Yeah.
And we're just starting to explore it.
If you're as intrigued by this as we are, we encourage you to check out the full research paper. It's called ColPali, Efficient Document Retrieval with Vision Language Models. We'll put a link in the show notes. And of course, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review because, it helps other curious minds find the show.
Spread the knowledge.
Exactly. And on that note, we'll catch you next time for another deep dive into the world of tech, research, and all the cool things shaping our future. Until then, keep those minds curious and stay engaged.